Okay. Hello, guys. So, I am coming to you. Sorry for the slight distraction, real quick. I'm coming to you because I had previously recorded this Genesis chapter 19 video. I ended up forgetting to upload it to YouTube and YouTube and Facebook. And so I ended up wasting my time basically recording it. So, we're going to try this again. And I'm going to do it immediately as soon as this is done. Now, this is an older one, so they're going to be kind of out of order as far as like the upload, but please, please understand. So, if I remember the context of this, okay, you have three men that show up to Abraham, right, to meet with Abraham and tell him, hey, you're going to have a kid, which is Isaac, right? That was Genesis chapter 18. That video is up already, so you'll understand the context. Now, here's the thing. There is nothing in Scripture that says these two angels are the same two of the three that went to visit Abraham. And there is no evidence to show that they are not. Okay? So it's basically there's no evidence either way. There's nothing in Scripture that says these two are two of the three that went to visit Abraham. And there's nothing to say that these two are not two of the three that went to visit Abraham. Either way it goes, whether you believe that these two were actually involved with uh, the three that went to visit Abraham, or whether you believe that these two were not involved. Okay. The only thing we can establish is shortly thereafter, when the three went to visit Abraham, you end up having two angels. Now, and came two angels, okay, Hamalakim, okay, messenger, representative, theophanic. And if I remember that word theophanic, basically what it describes is an angel that is someone who is directly coming in the name of, and you're supposed to look at that representative as if they were the person they were talking about. So, an angel that comes in the name of the Lord, you're supposed to treat and respect that angel as if it's God. Not in the essence of worshiping it, but you get that in the other general context. Okay. And two angels came to Sodom, one of the cities, Sodom and Gomorrah, right, in the evening time. Now, if you remember the Genesis 18 video, the three men who visit Abraham, that happened in the high time of the day. Again, same principle. This doesn't say it's the same day. Okay, it does not say it's the same day, but it is in the general context of the general vicinity of right after when that situation occurred, okay, with Abraham. And Lot was sitting at the gate, that would be the entrance, right? The gate, the entrance, okay? The entrance, the gate, the entrance to the city, marketplace, whatever, of Sodom. And when Lot saw them, is what that means. When Lot saw them. Now it says, and when saw them Lot. But basically when Lot saw them, he rose up to meet them. And he bowed. See right there, bowed. That would be prostrate. Bow down, prostrate yourself before something. With his face towards the ground. Now that, as I said in the video, but as I said in the video that I lost, this is the grounds in which Islam tries to put its context of we are of God's people. Because Islam gets on their knees and then puts their face to the ground, and because they see these words here, they think, oh, okay, well, that means the people of the Old Testament were actually Muslims. Well, correction for that. Islam did not come into existence even until the 7th century. Okay? So it would be impossible for Lot or Abraham to have been a Muslim if Islam had not even existed at that time. And he said, "Hear now, my lords," Adonai, talking to the two angels. So he gives them the same respect, right? That's why he uses that word theophanic. Okay, Adonai, turn in, please, to house of your servant. Basically, come to my house and spend the night, because it was already evening, right? So he's inviting them to stay at his place and wash your feet. That means they were not spirits; they had physical form. Okay, to wash your feet with regular water. Then you may rise. This is not him giving them permission, but this is like, I want to be hospitable to you, and go on your way. And they said no. So they actually declined his invitation the first time. No, for in the open square, we will spend the night. But he insisted. To press or push sometimes can be used as insolence or arrogance, but in this case, it's press and push. Please, 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 right? He insisted in it strongly. So they turned to him and entered into his house. So they came under his household. And he made them a feast. So that would be Lot made a feast of food. So not only does he offer them physical water, he offers them physical food. A feast of what? Unleavened bread. That would be bread without yeast, which comes out as after you bake it as cracker-like form. Okay, so it's very similar to a cracker, a large cracker type. Think very flat bread that is slightly harder than normal bread, where normal bread would be soft. Okay? And he baked it, and they ate. The angels actually ate. It means they had a physical form. They actually ate the bread that he cooked. Now, before they lay down, before the angels laid down, then the men of the city of Sodom, overcompassed, means surrounded, the house, from young and old. So basically all ages of men of the city. All the people of every quarter, which would be every section. A quarter is an end or an extremity or outskirts of every area of Sodom, basically. Both old and young men. They surround the house, right? And they called to Lot and said to him, "Where are the men who came to you tonight?" So, Lot recognizes these men as having some sort of divine quality about them. The men of the city, however, did not know that. So that's why they use the word men. Okay, the men, right here. Man, male. It would be talking about the gender form of the angels. Okay? That the angels, in their physical form, looked like actual men. Okay? Probably facial hair, masculine. Okay? In contrast to a female who is opposite. Okay? So they looked like men. So the men of the city came and said, "Hey, where are these men?" This is not going, "Hey, we're just curious about these people that came to your house." That's it. No. Let's find out what. Bring them out to us that we may know. Vena dea. Okay, vena dea. That we may know. Okay. Now, yes, part of the understanding of that word is to know or to learn, to know, to perceive, right? But I want you to look down about the fifth line down on this description, okay? To know a person carnally, in the flesh, okay? This is basically meaning we bring them out so that we may have intercourse with them. Sodomy, right? Maybe you have never paid attention to it, but have you ever noticed that the name of the city Sodom is the same as the word sodomy, only the difference is it has a Y, sorry. Um, that is because sodomy was what Sodom was doing. Like, why do I say that? Because, and I'm going to try and not be very specific in detail, because this is a YouTube video. And it is public. But basically, sodomy means in the tush or behind, or in the mouth, conception, which, compulation, not conception, compulation. The word compulation means intercourse. So basically, intercourse that involves your mouth or your behind. Okay? And that is what sodomy is. Okay? Now, anybody with common sense knows this is referring to homosexuality, both female and male. Because both female and male have to use sodomy in some sort of way in their sexual activities with one another. Okay? That we may know them. Now, how would you know that I figured out through the Bible, other than reading the Bible? How do we know that that's what it's talking about? How do we know that it's not just talking about, hey, I may know who you are? Okay, let's find out. So went out to them. So basically, Lot hears them calling to him from inside the house. He steps out of the house through the doorway, and he shuts the door behind him. It's like, you're not going in my house without my permission. And he said, please not, my brothers, act so wickedly, right? To do this wicked act, bad or evil, displeasing, wicked, ethically evil action. Act so wicked. Okay. So he says, I don't want you to do this sinful act, this evil act before God's eyes. What you plan to do to these men. Okay. So whatever these men plan to do, it's evil. We know that by the word here. So wicked. Okay. Because this Lot is a man of God. Okay. Then he does, so listen what he does. Behold now, I have 2 daughters. Right? So the daughters I have, who not have known a man. Now see, when we go back up, right, that we may know them. See that? And what does he say down here about his daughters? That they have not known a man, right? So in the context of the statement, it's intercourse. These daughters have not known a man. That means they're virgins. Let me bring out, please, them to you. And you may do according to what is good. You may do to them what is good to them according in your eyes. Now, this is not a lot going, you can do to them only which is good in God's eyes, or only which is good in my eyes. This is do to them according to what you think is talking about what the men of the city think. How many of us would turn over our daughter to a bunch of horny men and say, do with them as you wish, basically? But here's the point. Lot is basically saying, hey, I would rather you have your way with my daughters who are virgins and commit adultery in that sort of way than to do an even worse thing, which is something called an abomination. See, here's the thing. Adultery isn't called an abomination before God's eyes, but homosexuality is called an abomination before God's eyes. Okay? Then he says, only to men these do not anything. Now, the reason he says men is he's recognizing what the men of the city recognize these one's acts. Okay? He doesn't mention, hey, he doesn't say only to these angels or representatives of the Lord, do not do any of these things that you want to do. He's saying to these men. Okay? It's like if someone comes to me and they know the word apple, but they don't know the word orange, even though I may be talking about an orange, I'm not going to use the word orange because they won't know that word, right? So I'm going to go by based on what they know. That's what he does. He's going by based on what the men of the city know about his visitors. And he says, do nothing to them. Upon this, they have come under the shadow of my protection of my house. Then the men of the city said, stand back. And they said, this one came in to sojourn, meaning talk about that Lot was not originally from Sodom, but he came to live in Sodom. And he is acting like a judge. He's judging our actions continually, means every day. So this would show an evidence of that Lot did not have a good view of what the men of the city were constantly doing on an everyday basis. Now, we will deal with him worse with you than with them. Now that's talking about, hear that again. Okay, so we've already established that the men of the city, they want to commit sodomy to angels, okay, but they don't know they are angels. They want to basically commit sodomy, have homosexual relations with these ones that they perceive as men, but are actually angels. And here, the men of the city says, because you are judging us, because you're an outsider who isn't even of the city, we will actually do worse to you than to these angels. So, you can only imagine what worse would imply. Okay, so let's look at the next one. After they say that to him, they pressed, right? Push. Now this is, they directly try to force their way. They pressed against the man Lot, they're hard, and came near to break down the door. That would be how we understand that they tried to force their way into the house. Okay? But reached out the men, their hands. That would be the men that came to visit Lot. Okay? The angels did. The angels reached out their hands. So as the door was being forced open or being broken open, right? I would say it would be like being forced open rather than being broken open. And the reason I say that is what's going to happen to the door next. Okay. So it does say break down the door, but the door somehow is open, okay, in a way. And the men, that would be the angels, reach out their hands and they pulled Lot with them into the house, pulled him back into the house, and they shut the door. So if the door is broken down completely, there's no ability to shut the door. Get the point? So this would be like their purpose was to break down the door, but they did not break down. They tried to force their way into the house, forcefully, right? And the angels shut the door. And then what did the angels do? And the men who were at the doorway of the house, that's talking about the evil men outside the house, they struck, that would be the angels struck with sudden blindness, right? With blindness. See, sudden blindness. From the small to the great. It didn't matter whether they were old or young, right? From small, right? Small, young. So in this context, it's from the young to the old. Sorry, my cat is being stupid. I do apologize. My cat was being stupid, getting into stuff he shouldn't have gotten into. So, young to old, okay, they were struck with sudden blindness. So they wearied. That means that they were searching around. Okay, they didn't know where they were going. They wearied. How do we know this is searching around? Look what happens next. To find the door, right? So they're like, Where's the door? Where's the door? They couldn't see where the door was. Rightfully so. And said the men to Lot, who else have you here? Basically, who else is of your family? Son-in-law and your sons and your daughters and whomever you have in the city. Take them out of the place. For we will destroy this place because has grown great the outcry against them. Okay. Now this is referring to back to Genesis 18, I believe. Okay, where the three that visit Abraham say, "We want to come down and check out this outcry which has reached up to God in heaven about the evils of this city." That's the outcry that it's referring to. Because has grown great. That means grown great. Let's look at the context. Okay, to grow, to become great, or to become important, right? To make powerful, to magnify, right? So whatever these actions that they're doing, which we know what they are, it's happened over and over and over and over to the point where it's grown into something hugely problematic. Hence the outcry. Outcry what? Outcry against them. Their sins yell out to God against them. Before what? So where did the outcries go? To the face of Yahweh. Okay? Yahweh, right there. Jehovah, the existing one. And has sent us Yahweh to destroy it. In other words, Yahweh sent us to destroy the city. So went out Lot, right? So he goes out of his house and he spoke to his son-in-laws. These were probably the ones married to his daughters, right? From what it says here. And said, "Get up, get out of this place, for Yahweh will destroy the city." So he's telling his sons-in-laws to get up out of this place. But he seemed to be joking to his son-in-laws. Basically, his son-in-laws, right, did not take him seriously. And when the morning, so we have evening is when the angels show up, right? Evening is when the angels show up. They're about to rest. Sometime late in the night, the men of the city come in the cover of darkness. As you see, what happens in darkness? Evil happens in darkness. Makes sense that these men came to the Lot's house at night when all kinds of evils would normally occur. Okay? See? So you get the idea. So now it's the morning, right? And then urged to hurry the angels told Lot. So the angel was like, come on, Lot, hurry up. You need to get out of here. Okay? They were trying to encourage him to come on, hurry up. Okay? Arise, meaning get up, take your wife, spouse, and your two daughters, right, who are here. Take your two daughters who are here, lest you be consumed. Meaning leave this place or else you will be consumed. Okay? Or else you will be consumed in the punishment, in the consequences of what is to come. Okay? Of the city. And while he lingered, that would be lingered when he waited or delayed, the angels took hold, the men took hold of his hand. So the angels took hold of Lot's hand and the hand of his wife and the hand of his two daughters. You notice that the son-in-laws are not there because they didn't believe him. Being merciful, Yahweh being merciful to him. Merciful here is Bachimlat. Bachimlat. Okay. merciful pity or compassion, right? Having compassion on Lot and his family, and they brought him out of the city, and they set him outside of the city, right? Transporting him. So it came to pass when they had brought them, that would be when the angels had brought them outside of the city, that he said, escape for your life, not do look back behind you. Don't look behind you. Nor stay in all the plain. Don't go into the plain area, right? Plains area that are around the city. Escape to the mountains, lest you be destroyed. So don't stay in the plains because you might still be destroyed if you're in the plains. Go to the mountains, you'll be safe. And Lot said to them, no to them, please, my lords. So he's begging them, hey, no, please. Indeed, now, if I have found favor in your eyes, right? Your servant has found favor in your sight, and you have increased your mercy towards me, basically, which you have shown me by saving my life. Meaning, you desire to save my life, so please hear me. But my life, but I not am able to escape to the mountains. I'm not able to go to the mountains, lest overtake me, some evil may happen. So I might get hurt, I might die, some sort of bad. There might be some animals that want to kill me or something, right? Some evil might happen, and I die, right? An actual death. Then he said, behold now, the city this is near. There's a city that is nearby, Sodom, is what he said. There let me flee. Let me go to this place. Okay? Let me escape, please, there. It is not a small place, it is. It is a small place. And shall live my soul. I will be okay. And he said to him, see, I have sustained you also concerning this, in that not I will overthrow, right, the city about which you have spoken. Hurry, escape there, for I cannot do anything until you arrive there. Upon thus was called the name of the city Zoar. So the city that Lot is saying to the angels, hey, please let me go to this city, is Zoar. Pronounced as Zoar, or something like that. The city is southeast end of the Dead Sea. It is grouped together with Sodom and Gomorrah as being one of the 5 cities chosen for destruction. So God did not originally choose only Sodom and Gomorrah for destruction. He also chose other cities. But because Lot is going to this other city, that's why we have the statement, I will not destroy that city. I will not overthrow the city about which you have spoken. The city of Zoar. So Zoar is saved simply because, so basically Zoar was on the list to be destroyed. But it is saved simply because Lot asked to go there. So God shows mercy. When the sun had risen, so now the sun is up upon the earth, then Lot entered Zoar. So he's now in the city of Zoar. Then what happened? Then Yahweh rained on Sodom and Gomorrah, 2 cities, fire and brimstone, right? Fire and brimstone. Fire, flames, supernatural flames, accompanying theophany, meaning as we saw, a theophanic angel is someone that comes in the name of God and is looked at as if they are God, right? Brimstone, judgment, God's breath, Jehovah's breath. From Yahweh, out of the heavens. So out of the heavens came fire and brimstone. So he overthrew these cities, and the plain, that's why the angels tell Lot not to go to the plain. And all the inhabitants of the cities and what grew on the grounds as well. So not just the cities, but all of the everything that is involved in that scene, including plants, animals, everything. But looked his wife back. So Lot's wife looks back. And she became what? A pillar of salt. Literal salt. Salt. Okay, actual salt. And went early Abraham in the morning to the place where he had stood before Yahweh. So now they're jumping track. So after Lot's wife turns to salt, we go back to with where Abraham is. Abraham goes back to the same place where he was when he met the three in Genesis 18. Okay? And he waits for Yahweh. And he looked toward the face or direction of Sodom and Gomorrah, and toward all the land of the plain. And he saw, behold, went up lots of smoke from the land, like the smoke of a furnace. Not a little bit of smoke, a lot of smoke. And it came to pass, when God destroyed the cities of the plain, that remembered God. This is not God forget. Okay? Remember that God remembered. Vizikor Elohim. That God remembered. Elohim Vizikor, or Vizikor Elohim. Et Abraham. Veshalach. And sent Lot. Right? So basically, God sent Abraham to Lot out of the midst of the disaster when he overthrew the cities which had dwelt, or which Lot had dwelt in. And went. Now the word had was, Lot did not dwell in those cities at that time. He was before dwelling in those cities. But he was not in the cities at the time of destruction. And went up Lot out of Zoar, right? So he leaves Zoar, and he dwelt in the mountains with his two daughters, with him. For he was afraid to stay in Zoar. For whatever reason, maybe he thought God's wrath would come upon that city too. And he dwelt in a cave, he and his two daughters. So they became cave people. And the older daughter, says to the younger daughter, our father is old, and there is no man on the earth. For this would be like no man near us, to which we can get pregnant, basically, to come in to us, as is custom of all the earth. So basically impregnate. Come, let us make drink. So it was the idea of the older daughter to do this, by the way. Let us make drink our father wine. So let us make wine for our father, and we will lie with him. Now that basically have intercourse. So think about that. Your own children want to actually have intercourse with you. Not cool. Incest. That we may preserve. Now, see, that tells you the reason why. It might be a good reason that they want to preserve their father's lineage, right? Their DNA, more specifically their connection with our God. Okay, but remember back then, only select peoples had God with their side, by their side, right? That we may preserve our father seed. Now the word may there means that they're going to try and get him drunk and lay with him, but it doesn't mean it's going to for sure happen. That's why they say may. It could happen, it could not happen. It depends on the situation. So they made drink for their father wine, and at night, the first night, the older daughter goes in and lays with her dad, right? And her dad did not know, so he was out of it. He had no clue that he was actually having intercourse with his daughter when she lay down, or when she arose. He did not know. Like he wasn't even able to tell that there was someone that laid down with him, or that there was someone that got up from laying down with him. Is what that means. And it happened the next day. So the next day, the firstborn gets the dad drunk again, and the younger goes in. The younger daughter goes in, right, and does the same thing, right? And they make drink, and the same thing happens. The younger daughter goes in, And he also did not know. He was able to be aware of what was going on. Thus became pregnant the two daughters of Lot by their father, okay, by their own flesh and blood dad, okay? And bore the firstborn. So the firstborn, that would be the older daughter, she had a son, and she named him Moab, which is the ancestor of the Moabites. Okay, the Moabites are descendants of the son of Lot. Now, we have incest that has gone on, and think about the confusion that would be. You're both the dad and the grandfather of the children of your daughter. Okay, Moab, he is the father. The Moabites, so he's the ancestor of the Moabites. Okay, and his name is Moab. Moabites, Moab. You get the idea. To this very day, they are called Moabites. Okay, and then the younger daughter, she had birth, and she named her son Ben Ami. Ben Ami, right? Son of my people, son of Lot, born of the second daughter, right? And progenitor or ancestor of the Ammonites. So the Moabites come from Moab. The Ammonites come from Ben Ami, which is the other child of Lot, born of his daughter. He is the ancestor of all the Ammonites, basically, to this very day. Okay, so now we've done the reading, okay? And I believe I tried to tie a couple of these situations to you, okay? So the first one I'm going to try and tie to you is, or connect to you, is this. As good as your motives might be for something, you should never go through sinful ways to do it, okay? Just as in this case, as good as the motive for carrying on their lineage was, it was not right for them to get pregnant by their own dad, regardless what they saw, regardless what they felt. Right? That was not cool to do. Okay, that was not cool to do. Okay, you should never. Now, the point I'm making about this, okay, the point I'm making about this is that you should never, ever, ever think that it's okay to do something sinful if the motive is good. No. Now, I once talked to a lady, and here's the words that she said to me, and maybe it might make sense to you. God gave me OnlyFans to make money with. So in her mind, the God of the Bible, who is a holy God, gives a sinful method in order to make money instead of an honorable method. And when I thought about it at first, I was like, no, because I knew she was talking about God in the Bible, right? But the trick of the thing is she's actually right in a sort of way. Let me explain. Her God, right, gave her a sinful way of making money. The problem with that, or the thing that's missing, is that the God that she thinks she's following, it gives this sinful way, is not the God of the Bible. It's Satan in disguise. So basically, Satan in disguise, pretending to be God, has provided this woman with this evil method of making money. Okay? So that's the first thing. The second thing that I tied to was Lot's wife looking back. God has designed you to move forward and to look back only to learn from, but never focus on. Right? There are some things that if we in life, in our past, I should say, that if we look back on, it's going to drag us or enslave us back into that same evil. One example would be if God has freed you from pornography, if God has freed you from the addiction of lust, okay, and you look back on lust to watch it again or whatever, you run the risk of being enslaved to it again, just as Lot's wife turned to a pillar of salt. In other words, it's not going to do any good for you. It's only going to make problems. So don't look back. I put it this way, I believe. If you're driving down the road, yes, you look in the rearview mirror to see what's behind you so you can avoid troubles. Yes, you look through the side view mirror as well. But the main focus of where you look is on what's ahead of you, not what's behind you. If you were to constantly look behind you when you're driving, you would crash your car in a hurry. Same principle, doesn't matter whether you're on a bicycle, motorcycle, whatever. If you're looking behind you while you're driving, you're going to crash. Okay? Anyway, guys, now that I've done this, I'm going to upload this to Facebook and YouTube. I hope you have a blessed day and take care.